Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into some really cool stuff today from MUFON.
MUFO.
Yeah, the Mutual UFO Network, They investigate UFO sightings. They even made this documentary series called Hangar 1 Presidential Encounters.
Okay, I'm listening.
It's all about what U.S. presidents might have known about UFOs. Like, what did they see and how did they deal with it? Pretty wild stuff.
Presidents and UFOs. Sounds interesting.
Oh, it gets crazy. Secret meetings, possible cover-ups, the whole 9 yards. But the best part is, we're not just dealing with rumors.
So we've got hard evidence.
MUFON has tons of it. Declassified documents, people who saw stuff firsthand, even some stories straight from the president.
Oh, okay. You've got my attention. Where do we start?
Well, let's rewind back to after World War II. President Truman was in charge, and the world was still recovering from the war.
Right. And on top of that, he had just made the decision to use the atomic bombs. Must have been intense.
Absolutely. Imagine the pressure he was under. And then, boom, the Roswell incident happens in 1947.
Roswell. Everyone knows that name. Wasn't that the weather balloon incident?
Exactly. A rancher finds this weird debris in New Mexico, and at first everyone's talking about a captured flying saucer.
I remember hearing about that. What happened?
The government stepped in and said, nope, just a weather balloon, nothing to see here. A little too convenient, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's what got everyone suspicious, like they were hiding something.
Exactly. Roswell basically kicked off this whole thing with UFO secrecy, and it went on for decades, affecting how presidents after Truman dealt with it.
So what did Truman do?
Well, he was under a lot of pressure to keep things calm, so he chose secrecy.
Makes sense, in a way.
He put together this group of scientists called the Robertson Panel.
What did it do?
They were supposed to figure out what to do about all these UFO sightings. They recommended keeping it all low-key, discrediting the researchers, and basically keeping the public distracted.
Sounds like a classic cover-up.
Pretty much. Sweep it under the rug and hope no one notices. Now, fast forward to 1954, President Eisenhower.
Okay, what happened with him?
This is where it gets really interesting. Eisenhower takes this unscheduled trip to Palm Springs, vanishes for 12 hours, comes back with a story about a dental emergency.
A dental emergency.
Really? Yeah, but come on. MUFON dug up some stuff that suggests it wasn't a toothache at all. They think he was at Edwards Air Force Base.
What was going on at Edwards?
It was closed off for 3 days, and guess what? Some people say he met with aliens there.
No way. Aliens.
It's wild, right? Alien encounters at top-secret bases, presidential cover-ups. This is like something out of a movie.
So what was the meeting about?
Supposedly, they exchanged advanced alien tech for permission to build a base on Earth.
Seriously. Do you think that's true?
Whether it's true or not, the secrecy around UFOs definitely ramped up after this supposed meeting. The government went full-on denial mode.
Wow. So another president, another possible encounter, and even more secrecy. It's a pattern, isn't it?
It sure seems that way. But things get even crazier when you bring the Cold War into the picture.
The Cold War and UFOs.
Yeah.
How are they connected?
Well, think about it. The Cold War was super tense, right? Constant threat of nuclear war. And then you have these unidentified objects flying around.
I can see where that would cause problems.
That's where Kennedy comes in.
Kennedy, what did he do?
He became aware of UFOs as another potential threat, on top of everything else going on.
What kind of threat?
Well, there was this big worry that the Soviet radar systems might mistake UFOs for U.S. missiles coming at them.
Oh, man, that could have been disastrous. Triggering a nuclear war by accident.
Exactly. And that's not all. Kennedy also started talking to the Soviet Union about UFOs. He wanted to work together, share information.
In the middle of the Cold War. That's pretty wild.
I know, right? But he thought it was important. He saw it as a global issue, something that went beyond just politics.
He was ahead of his time, wasn't he?
He really was. And get this, just days before he was assassinated, Kennedy sent a memo to NASA. He wanted them to team up with the Soviets on space exploration.
Space exploration and UFOs. That's a pretty big leap.
It is, but it makes you think, doesn't it? Did he know something we didn't? Did his pursuit of UFO transparency make him a target?
It's definitely a possibility. It's hard not to wonder.
So we've gone from Roswell and a potential cover-up to Eisenhower's possible alien encounter, and then Kennedy trying to get the U.S. and Soviets to work together on UFOs during the Cold War. It's mind-blowing stuff.
It really is. I'm hooked. What happens next?
Well, next up is Nixon. And let me tell you, his story is even more unbelievable than what we've talked about so far.
Really?
Oh.
Unbelievable how.
You're not going to believe this, but it involves Nixon, Jackie Gleason, and a late-night trip to see alien bodies.
Alien bodies. You're kidding, right?
I'm not kidding. This is what MUFON uncovered.
Okay, now I have to hear this. Tell me more. Alien bodies. Seriously, what's the story there?
Okay, so picture this. Nixon, late at night, goes to Jackie Gleason's house.
Jackie Gleason, the comedian.
Yeah, the great one himself. They then hop in a car, no security, no nothing, and drive to Homestead Air Force Base.
Homestead Air Force
That's
Base.
from what? According to Gleason, they were there to see alien bodies preserved in freezers.
Hold on. Nixon and Jackie Gleason just casually went to see dead aliens.
That's the story. It's almost too wild to believe, right?
It's definitely out there. But it makes you wonder what Nixon knew, right? And what about other presidents? Did they have this kind of access?
That's the big question. Like, what about Clinton? He seemed pretty interested in UFOs.
Yeah, I remember he talked about wanting to find out what really happened at Roswell.
Right. He even thought about revealing the truth on the 50th anniversary.
That would have been something. Do we know what happened?
Well, sadly, it didn't work out. Seems like he hit a wall.
A wall. What do you mean?
From what MUFON gathered, there was a lot of resistance.
Resistance from who?
Well, we don't know for sure. It's like some people, somewhere, really want to keep this stuff hidden.
Even from the president.
It seems that way. It makes you think, right? Who's really in charge here?
Yeah, it's pretty unsettling. Makes you wonder about those conspiracy theories.
I know what you mean. But before we go down that rabbit hole, let's talk about Carter.
Carter. The one who actually saw a UFO.
That's the one. He's the only president with an official UFO sighting.
I remember that story. He saw something strange in the sky back in '69, right?
Yep. While he was running for governor of Georgia, he even filed a report describing it.
Wow. From a UFO witness to president.
You know it. And during his campaign, he promised to make UFO info public.
Really? That's a bold move. What happened?
Well, he ran into some roadblocks, specifically from the intelligence community.
They shut him down. But he was the president.
It seems that way. There's the story that shortly after he was elected, he met with George H.W. Bush.
Who's the CIA director back then?
Exactly. Carter asked Bush for access to UFO files, but Bush basically said no.
No way. Seriously. What was his excuse?
He said the president's curiosity wasn't a good enough reason.
Wow. So even the president couldn't get this information.
Apparently not. It's crazy, right? Like, there are levels of secrecy that even the president can't break through.
Makes you wonder what they're hiding. But what about Reagan? Didn't he see a UFO too?
Oh, yeah. Back when he was governor of California, he was flying in a small plane and saw this weird thing in the sky making crazy moves.
So it wasn't just him, right? Others saw it too.
He was with a pilot and 2 other people. All 4 of them saw it.
That's pretty compelling. What does Reagan say about it?
At first, he talked about it openly. He told a reporter he was amazed by what he'd seen. But then he kind of stopped talking about it.
Why do you think that was?
Maybe he realized it wasn't good for his political image. You know, that whole stigma around UFOs.
Yeah, I get it. People don't want to be seen as crazy UFO believers, especially politicians.
Exactly. And guess who his vice president was? George H.W. Bush, the same guy who denied Carter access to UFO info.
Bush again. He seems to be a recurring character in this UFO saga.
He's like the ultimate gatekeeper, keeping those secrets locked away. But even he slipped up once.
What do you mean?
During a campaign event, he admitted to knowing a lot about UFOs.
He actually said that. Wow. So he knew something but wouldn't tell anyone.
It's frustrating, right? But it does support this idea that there's a deeper level of secrecy surrounding UFOs.
Not like some shadowy group pulling the strings.
Maybe. It's like something out of a spy novel. But let's move on to Obama. He seemed like he might change things.
Yeah? He had John Podesta on his team.
Podesta was super vocal about wanting the government to release UFO files. He even said, the American people can handle the truth.
So did Obama follow through?
Well, not really. Even with Podesta's influence, they kept things pretty hush-hush.
Another missed opportunity.
Seems like it. But here's where it gets really interesting. This story involves Jimmy Carter again, but not during his presidency.
Carter again? I'm intrigued. What happened?
This was right after he won the election in '76. He went to a classified briefing about UFOs.
A classified briefing? What was in it?
We don't know the details of what was discussed, but afterward?
Afterward what?
Apparently, Carter was seen sitting alone, visibly shaken, and in tears.
Tears. What could have been so upsetting? What could they have told him?
A president in tears. It's just...
What?
It's hard to imagine what could have been so disturbing.
Right. I mean, what kind of information could have that kind of impact? Makes you think.
Yeah. Like we've seen how presidents react to UFOs. Some are curious, some want to tell the world, some clam up. But Carter, he was visibly shaken.
It definitely adds another layer to this whole thing. Makes you wonder if they even had a choice in keeping things quiet.
That's what I keep coming back to. This constant tension between the public's right to know and, well, I guess national security or preventing mass panic.
Yeah. But who decides what's too dangerous for us to know?
Mm.
And what happens when these secrets stay hidden?
It's like a never-ending battle between transparency and control. But what if the control isn't just the government? What if there's something else going on?
You mean like a deeper level of control?
Yeah. Something influencing the whole UFO narrative, even at the presidential level. I mean, we've seen how presidents get shut down when they get too close.
Makes you think about those conspiracy theories, right? Like Majestic 12.
Majestic 12. Now that's a story for another time, but we've covered a lot today. Cover-ups, secret meetings, personal encounters, presidents in tears. It's a lot.
It really is. And I bet you're feeling like I am, with more questions than answers.
That's kind of the point, isn't it? We're not trying to give all the answers, just shed some light on this whole UFO thing, get people thinking.
Exactly. We've looked at the evidence, different points of view, all based on solid sources like MUFON's work, but ultimately it's up to each person to decide what they believe.
Right. You got to weigh the evidence and come to your own conclusions.
The search for truth never really ends, you know? It's a journey. You have to question things, be open to new ideas, and maybe accept that reality is bigger than we think.
And as you keep exploring this topic, keep that image of Carter in your mind. That president, brought to tears by something about UFOs. What could it have been?
Let that question drive you.
Yeah.
Make you think critically, challenge your own beliefs. Sometimes the journey is just as important as the destination.
Well said. So, to everyone listening, keep searching, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to look up at the sky with a sense of wonder. And a little bit of healthy skepticism, of course. Who knows what's out there?
That's what keeps it interesting.
Until next time, folks.